Welcome to At Issue. I'm H. Wayne Wilson. I'm very pleased to be discussing the future of Caterpillar's headquarters, their global headquarters. And I don't think there's any surprise when we say they're going to stay in downtown Peoria. After 90 years as a company and 50 years, nearly 50 years, at their present headquarters, Caterpillar has a bold new look in downtown Peoria. We're going to talk about the impact that that has. We'll show you some video of the headquarters, but more so we'll talk about the impact that it's going to have on the Central Illinois community. And to have that conversation, I'm joined by Sri Srinath, who is the Managing Director of the Caterpillar Global Headquarters Project. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Managing Director, your responsibility is?
So my team and I basically are responsible for the design and delivery of the headquarters complex. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, it's our responsibility. We work with other builders, designers, consultants, etc. But my team and I have that responsibility and the privilege.
And you'll have a busy next 10 years?
8 to 10 years, we expect to be quite busy, yes.
We'll talk about that in a moment, but we're also joined by Henry Vickery. Henry is the Community Relations Manager for Caterpillar. Thank you so much for being here, Henry.
Thanks for having us, H. Appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit about why downtown Peoria, and both of you please respond, because I think there was a little bit of hesitation. Yes, we think Caterpillar's going to stay downtown. We think they're going to stay in Peoria, but there were a lot of states, countries, cities tugging on Caterpillar. True?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what were they offering?
So there were all the way from tax breaks, typically financial incentives, and personal pressure, as those are the kind of things. But since the study started about 2.5 years back, we've pretty much restricted ourselves to the Peoria area, and fairly soon after that, downtown. So yeah, I think you asked two questions: why Peoria and why downtown? We have deep roots in Peoria, as you know. We've been in this area for over 100 years, nearly 100 years, and 90 years as a company, 50 years almost in downtown Peoria itself. We also have a very large footprint of other employees. We have 16,000 employees in the Peoria area, 20-something thousand in Illinois. Our tech center is in Peoria, in the Peoria area, if you will, in Mossville. Our proving grounds, very vibrant part. So when customers come here, they like to touch upon all these locations and facilities. So it made sense for us to continue to be in the Peoria area. And downtown is for the same type of reason. We've had a footprint there, and we didn't want to desert it. It made sense for us to stay there and try to revitalize the downtown. A lot of the millennials like to live in downtown areas as opposed to suburban areas, and I think they'll become bigger part of our employment base as we move forward. Just a few months back, I think in the U.S., across the U.S., the millennials beat the baby boomers as the largest constituent of the workplace. We expect that'll happen for us too. So it made sense to stay in the downtown area and try to make it a better place with the help from supporting the city and other civic bodies to try and attract that constituency. So those are the thought processes.
Mentioning the city, what kind of interaction has Caterpillar had with the city in terms of, this is not a minor project, this is 6 full blocks of the city. What did you request of the city, and what are you hoping that the city can not provide, but create an environment for?
We've had a great partnership with the city for over 2 years now, and Shree's team has worked flawlessly with the city council, city staff, and the mayor. We couldn't have done it without them. And to echo Shree's comments about this region, it was neat to see for us when our chairman, Doug Oberhelman, announced Caterpillar will stay in Peoria, Caterpillar will stay in Peoria, the eruption in the crowd from city council to staff to media, everyone. That we knew it was right to stay in Peoria, but when we saw that reaction, which is still coming in, we knew obviously that we made the right decision, and it's been exciting. When you drive up University, you see the marquee on the Metro Center, and they spontaneously put Caterpillar thank you. It's really a neat thing to see in the Peoria region. Everything here is connected. There's not one person in this region hasn't been touched by Caterpillar. I'm a second-generation Caterpillar person. We have folks, I have one person in my neighborhood who's a 4th-generation Caterpillar person. We've been here 90 years, and we look forward to another 90 years in Peoria for Caterpillar.
And with regard to talking to the city, do you, we mentioned millennials and they like the urban environment. What do you expect from the city in terms of creating more than that 6-block Caterpillar campus?
Yeah. part of my job as community relations manager is exciting in that beyond this announcement now, we have the opportunity to partner with the city, folks like Jennifer Daly at the Economic Development Council of Central Illinois, the Downtown Development Corporation with Michael Freilinger. Those groups, those leaders need to come together now. And Caterpillar is going to be a willing partner on making sure that we use this as a catalyst, this study, now project, as a catalyst to move the region forward. And we can do that. And my gentle challenge at the community relations part of the announcement the other day was to challenge our business leaders, our civic leaders, our governmental leaders to come together and help drive that and use this as a catalyst to move the region forward. Shree's right. Young people today, when they come into Caterpillar and they're a young engineer or a young doctor, they may not want the same lifestyle that Shree and I have. They may want to have that urban lifestyle. That's why Caterpillar's heavily invested in the Downtown Development Corporation. We want to see that opportunity so that we can have not only the campus, but also the surrounding area ready for the next generation of young engineers, professionals coming into Caterpillar, Medical Complex, Bradley, and the like.
When I was at the announcement now, as this program airs a week ago, everybody kind of looked around and said, they're doing this without financial incentive, and I understand why, but when you hear about, ADM wanted this and Boeing moved to Chicago because of this, it's kind of refreshing to hear a corporation say, no, we're going to do this on our own.
Well, so that is a question that we often get. If you look at Illinois, we are not in the best financial situation as a state, and we thought it would not be very good for us to go say we want additional incentives. And we also talked about our roots here, and so we had an incentive to stay, and that was plenty incentive. We didn't want to ask for any additional special legislation from the state. Similarly, even from the city, there are some enterprise zones, that type of sales tax break, et cetera, that we would get. And we are even working with them on some strategies to try and how can we help revitalize not just our 6 blocks, but the surrounding blocks, the entire downtown, as well as the region. So I think when all is said and explained, I personally am very proud of Caterpillar trying to be a very good corporate citizen of the city and the region.
So the only financial incentive is the enterprise zone, which is a sales tax break,
and the TIF district.
The TIF district.
That's correct.
That's it.
And even that, we are trying to figure out exactly how much of it we want to keep and how much we want to put back in the community. Okay. And that's a decision that's not made yet. Okay.
We have an opportunity to look at a video that was shown at the announcement a week ago, and let's take a look at this graphic representation of what the new global headquarters for Caterpillar would look like. And you can see that's the Murray Baker Bridge on the right-hand side. And go ahead and describe the towers here, Sri.
Right. So the 3 towers, the 2-tower block that's on the left is where currently our parking deck is situated, and the single tower on the right is it's an empty visitors parking lot. And this is another view of the same thing, and you can see the Gateway building behind us. There'll be plenty of green space on all the roofs and on top of the three-story structure that I'll talk about in a second. We talked a little bit about retail. We are trying to develop retail as well as amenities in one of the blocks, which is currently the Chase block. There'll be a parking deck in the middle surrounded by retail stores, by a gym, as well as childcare. And this is in the visitor lot is the energy center, and it's going to be very green. It'll showcase our latest equipment that will help power. And the front view is it's to evoke the idea of the blade of a D11 tractor. So you'll see a lot of Caterpillar machine themes playing in the building itself. We also have a historically significant equipment display across the street from the visitor center today. And this is the river side, where there'll be plenty of greenery and opportunity for people to relax and work. This is the top of the 3-story structure we call the collaboration bar. A lot of green open space, as you can see. And we want to try and bring in the outside to the building as well as make it easy for people to go out. And we're especially quite proud of the collaboration bar with the Caterpillar yellow, and the triangle shape is there to highlight the D11 high drive shape, which is a very iconic tractor for us, and hopefully it will make that building itself an iconic building for us.
You talked about the outside. You mean that employees will have the opportunity, where appropriate, to actually work outside during warmer months?
Very much. We want it very easy for them to go out and work and bring the technology infrastructure into play where they can do that. And on cold days, or hopefully sunny days, even when they're inside, we want them to feel very close to the outside.
And what about the openness? I've been in the current headquarters many, many times, and it's cubicles, and sometimes you just don't see the windows.
Yes.
So is there an openness? And Henry's laughing because he knows.
I've been there.
We, the current headquarters was built, I think declared in 65, completed in 67. It was built in the days when our work was mostly focus work. We came to work, we sat at our desk, we did our work, maybe went out for coffee, went out for lunch. But what we call focus work was the dominant work mode. That day is gone. Today, about half our time is spent collaborating, with Vickery and others that we need to go get things done with, small teams, et cetera. And of course, sunlight is very important. We used to put all the closed offices around the periphery, which blocked the lights from everybody else. In the new world, everything is going to be upside down. Closed offices will be minimal, and they'll be towards the center so that the sunlight comes into everybody. The workspace will accommodate the way we work today. It has changed a lot from 60s. We spend a lot of time, some focus time still. We need to make it easy if people want to go focus on their laptop or writing or whatever it is. But we want to make it easy for them to be able to collaborate. Accidental collaboration or spontaneous collaboration is really where a lot of the work gets done. People want to socialize. We want to make it easy for them. And people spend a fair amount of time learning because what we knew yesterday is outdated today. So we want our internal workspace to be quite different and support all these work modes and be flexible enough to accommodate changing work modes. One thing we know today is 50 years from now, when that building is still there, the way we work is going to be very different. The way the technology infrastructure supports us is going to be very different. And we're also building in that flexibility, even though we know what we're going to do at first, so that we can change it over time.
And that's an important issue because I know the old building really couldn't accommodate modern technology, and that's one of the reasons for the new building.
It's very difficult. In order for us to attract and retain the next generation of talent, we have to have those collaboration bars and the things that allow us to increase productivity and stay ahead of the innovation game. So if we can have that, and we have the ability for our young engineers and doctors and others to come in and have that live, work, play atmosphere in downtown Peoria, we feel like that makes us very competitive with any other Midwestern-sized city who would be competing for us with jobs.
And I like the term you used, accidental collaboration. How many things have happened because of that?
Yeah, it is quite impressive, and we've benchmarked a lot of other companies that have done this kind of a work arrangement, and it's very impressive. Real hard data is hard to come by, but there's plenty of anecdotal data where they say, we see velocity of decision speeding up because people are just meeting instead of trying to schedule a meeting 2 weeks later because that's when the room is available, et cetera. And the use of their formal meeting rooms goes substantially down because the workspace itself supports this spontaneous accidental collaboration where, hey, come on over, let's spend about 15 minutes and knock this out instead of trying to block 1 hour 2 weeks in the future. Right. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence and data to support that it's the right direction to go.
We've seen graphics of what the building will look like, but let's take a look at the footprint of the 6-block area that Caterpillar will provide over the next 8 or 10 years. This is the current situation. Sri, if you want to explain this as we zoom in on the current design, or the current buildings, rather.
Of course. You can see towards the middle the current admin building, and then you have on the right northeast corner of that screen, you have the AH building. The
AH would be the old security savings.
The old security savings.
Yeah.
And then towards the river, you had the empty parking lot and the parking deck. So the 3 towers span 2 blocks with the empty parking lot and where the current parking deck is.
Between Water and Washington.
Water and Washington. And where the current building is, you see that like a two triangular shapes.
We'll show that in a moment here, but there's the additional building.
That highlighted area is going to be a parking deck in the center, surrounded by retail, and the amenities like fitness, etc. And that blue area is where the current admin building is. And we expect to make it predominantly a green space that draws the courthouse plaza into the front of our lobby and into our into our building.
And then, of course, in the lower portion of the red boundary is the CAT Visitors Center.
Which will continue as it is today.
Mm-hmm. I do have a question. You mentioned parking in the middle of, and I'm sorry, I don't know the phrase for the auxiliary building.
We just call it F block, so it's a very highly imaginative name.
F block. Okay. Well, no wonder I didn't know what to call it.
That's a Chase block. The current Chase block. That's correct.
And the Chase building, which is the old Carson Peary Scott, will come down.
Yes, correct.
And the professional building, the dark brick building, will come down.
Let's give it. Yes.
But you mentioned parking in the center of that. Right now, there's a large parking lot to the bridge side of the parking deck, the CAT parking deck. Caterpillar's been very generous. When there are events downtown, you open that up for free parking. That's going to disappear.
Our expectation is this parking lot that we're talking about, during the transition, we need that for employees, especially when the current parking deck is down at some part during the construction phase. Eventually, we want to go back to exactly where we are and make it available for public as well. We want to be as generous, if not more generous, because Caterpillar will own more parking slots in the 6-block area than we do today. So other than the transition time, we do not expect to change that practice.
And I also wanted to point out that it appears, even though you mentioned the 3-tower building spans 2 blocks, you're not going to create any traffic flow problems. The streets are going to remain the way they are.
That's correct. None of the streets around the Caterpillar 6 block are going to be closed.
So Hamilton will actually go underneath.
Hamilton will go underneath, that's correct. And in fact, we've done enough studies to make sure that it doesn't change the view as you look from the city of the Gateway building, et cetera, from a visual perspective.
And there is actually a walkway to the F block, as it's called?
Right, and that'll help our employees get to many of the amenities that would be in the F block from our main campus.
Let's take a look at some of the buildings then. We have some other graphics to show you. And there's the high drive design.
Yeah, this is the high drive design, the D11 aspect ratio that I mentioned that we are quite proud of. I think it's what is going to distinguish this building from, it's already quite distinguishable, other 3-tower buildings and make it somewhat iconic.
And this is a 3-story that wraps around half of the towers?
It actually cuts across the 3 towers. It's inside the tower, so it's actually a 3-story office building, and it also provides you access to from tower to tower if you should so choose.
Okay, and here's what Henry was talking about, the F block.
Yeah, this is the retail. It looks like we are looking at...
that was Adams at Fulton.
Yeah, now we are looking at the historically significant equipment display
from the
across
visitor
from
center.
the visitor center.
Yep.
That's correct, across Washington Street. And we would like to collect a lot of the really old machines, the first, Betsy, et cetera, and our second, third, and bring them here. And this is another view of the front.
This is from Courthouse Square, basically?
Yeah, standing high.
And that's the main entrance where the lower, right there?
That's the main entrance, yeah. Okay. And that shape is kind of evokes a little bit of the D11 blade. Not the same aspect ratio, but I guess.
That would be one nice D11 carry dozer,
It'll be a
wouldn't it?
big carry dozer, exactly.
So timetable. We've talked about 8 years, so what is the timetable?
The only thing I can tell you is this year it's going to be very light site prep work. It's all. Beyond that, we have not announced a timetable. We have not decided on a timetable. When the conditions are right, then we will declare and try to go as fast as we can. So at this point, I'm not in a position to say we're going to start on a given date. Once we start, we think from start to finish, the entire cycle will take the better part of a decade, 8 to 10 years. Think of it that way.
And the global economy might dictate?
The optics and the economy, et cetera, certainly will dictate when we get started.
Is there any possibility that the program might be scaled down because of the economy?
I don't know how to guess the future, but that's not the intent as we sit here. The intent is to build this complex as we have seen it. Otherwise, we would not have made it quite so public as we have.
Let me ask you about, we've talked about the 6 blocks, and we've talked about cooperation with the city, but there are a lot of people I talked to at the announcement who are just giddy about the economic spin-off. Right. What have you talked to people about that, and what role does Caterpillar play in maybe facilitating that?
Doug Stewart said it best. This is maybe the biggest announcement in 40 years, and I think Mayor Ardis echoed that comment the other day. The entire town and region is just jubilant about this announcement. Obviously, we've heard it from everybody in the area. We need to capture that energy, and we need to channel it toward actually getting some economic development done locally and regionally. This is great for Tazewell County. It's great for Woodford. It's great for Peoria. It's wonderful for our employees. So again, I think one thing we have to do, and what we have to do, it's critical now, is get behind Jennifer Daly and the Economic Development Council and the DDC, and between our local partners, our governmental partners, and our business partners, come together and really work hard to capture on what truly is a catalyst for this area. If Mayor Art is right, and I think he is, this may be the biggest announcement since 1967 when we moved into our last building. This is our time in this region to have it all to come together, and Caterpillar is going to be a very strong partner along the way. We're heavily involved with the EDC and the Downtown Development Corporation. There's great things going on at the Chamber of Commerce. Jim Lynch at the CEO Council has 5 new business initiatives. One of them is an apprentice program where Bill Cerrone and others want to put together 1,000 jobs in an apprentice program throughout the region. And when Bill Cerrone says he's going to do something, we know that he's going to do it. And so Caterpillar will be a partner with OSF, with Unity Point and Bradley, and smaller employers in all those efforts. And you're right, H, this is the time. I think over the next 1 to 2 years, we really need to coalesce around this catalyst and this exciting project.
So might Caterpillar representatives work with Jennifer Daly at EDC and others when there is interest shown by another company and say, this is why we're committed to the community?
Absolutely. I mean, we're out there helping raise funds. We're out there as a willing business partner on all those ends, H.
And just for clarification, Doug Stewart is with PNC Bank?
He is.
And Bill Cerrone is with...
Bill owns federal
companies
right.
over in East Peoria.
Correct.
Let me turn back to Sri, and the size of this is 1.9 million square feet.
3,200 people, roughly, desks.
3,200 people?
3,200 assigned desks, if you want to look at it.
That's 1,000 more than currently. So will jobs move from other locations to headquarters when all complete?
The intent is to consolidate most of our downtown employees into the headquarters building. The population is roughly 3,200 today.
And that means that some rental property that you currently rent in downtown will become empty.
Yeah, and we own, for example, Hamilton Building, where there's a fairly sizable population. We will bring them into the downtown building as well, and there will be some rental property impact as well. But primarily, the Hamilton is a big part of it, and LD is owned by Caterpillar today, and so those are all the buildings that we're considering consolidating into the downtown headquarters complex.
And what happens to those buildings? You own them.
Well, so we have to figure out what best to do them. Someday we would like to sell them or do something else with
become
them.
a landlord.
No, that's not our interest. So
that's not a core competency.
That's not a core. We'd rather build tractors and trucks and machines.
I would be remiss if we didn't, and I will reflect back on the announcement. Doug Oberhelman started the announcement by mentioning a very prominent company that's older than Caterpillar in Peoria, Kelly Seed. What happens to them?
They stay right there. They're a great neighbor and partner, and we love Kelly Seed, and we look forward to staying next to them for a very long time.
What's the biggest hurdle right now for you?
The biggest hurdle right now is the global uncertainty in the business conditions getting good enough to where we get the green light. I think to me that's probably the biggest thing. And business conditions continue to be cyclical, but once we get started, this is a project for the next 50, 60, 70 years. So while there will be ebbs and flows, I think once we get started, you'll find that we go with fairly steady pace.
So, but you just don't know when that might, other than site prep work.
Yeah,
you just don't know when that might be.
I do not know when we will get going.
A final thought. The enormity of this. I don't know that you might be able to, but I don't know that anybody I talked to, they all just kind of looked at it and said, my word. This is a huge impact on all of Central Illinois, and we keep talking about Peoria, but we probably should say Central Illinois.
Yes.
And what kind of feedback have you gotten?
It has been very positive. People realize that it is a significant change to the investment levels, and the fact that Caterpillar has declared our intent to be here now takes away that uncertainty. And there have been other developers who are looking at downtown areas, hospital district, warehouse district, et cetera, that are going to feel a little easier investing. So the response has been nothing but positive.
And the idea that Caterpillar, a Fortune 50 company, stays in a community this size.
Well, it's just tremendous for the city, our employees, our customers, our dealers. And we hope this project will spur and be a catalyst for economic development for the next 10, 20, 30 years, And you look at all the great things that have gone on in East Peoria and Peoria. This here, though, is our time to really hit it out of the park.
And if I may add, I think Peoria has been great to us, and it'll that relationship with a two-way relationship, and we expect to continue with it.
Yeah. Sri Srinath, Henry Vickery, thank you both for being with us on At Issue, and thank you for the update on the new global headquarters for Caterpillar Incorporated. We're going to be off the next 2 weeks on At Issue. We'll be back in 3 weeks with another edition of At Issue, when we'll be talking about trends in illegal drugs among young people. Join us then for the next At Issue.